woman said, my mother has a story to tell. And indeed she does. Diane Grecny is here today with her older sister and her 2 daughters. And Diane is a Vietnam vet, having served in Vietnam in 1967. And so, Diane, why don't you make sure that your sister and her sister fell in the river yesterday. And I just learned this, so proof positive that you can take a licking and keep on ticking. So not every tourist gets that special treatment.
Fell in the river.
But she's here, and we're very glad. But make sure that you meet her great older sister who fell in the drink and got out, and her 2 great daughters.
My name is Diane Grecny Doerr. I live near St. Louis, in a small city called Alton, Illinois. When I saw the announcement for the story, when I saw the announcement for the storytelling at the Women's Memorial, a story I remember came to mind. It was not stories of bravery, fear, or sorrow. There was a lot of that, with lots of pain and loss. I tend to put those memories away from my mind and try to remember the boy, the man, whose spirit had to live these stories. You know you are a military nurse when 2 patients go missing. I was a 2nd lieutenant at the 36th Evac Hospital. The year was 1967. It was located on an Army Air Force base, and it was my 2nd assignment. My first assignment was at Kenner Army Hospital, which is the same as Diane Evans had served, but I was there 2 years before. At that time, at Kenner Army Hospital, there were no Army nurses. Myself and a roommate were the first, and we were both new graduates. I graduated from Lawrence Memorial School of Nursing in Medford, Massachusetts. I joined the Army in a similar program in the nurse. The senior year, I joined the Army. I was a private. I was very happy because I got a stipend of $90 a month. I was really rich as a private. Upon graduation, I enlisted into the Army nurse, and I was sent to Brooke Army Medical Field Service School for basic training. I'm having problems reading my own writing. I'm sorry. Bring it a little closer. In San Antonio, Texas for basic training, and I was given the MOS as surgical medical nurse, and I was again, like I said, sent to Kenner Army Hospital in Fort Lee, Virginia. At that time it was completely civilian staffed, and it was before Vietnam. I had no additional training to work at a trauma center or in the different surgical specialties that I was to experience at the evacuation hospital. The hospital was composed of Quonset huts, concrete floors, tin roofs with sandbags along either side. It was hot and humid, and we had large fans for a coolant. The long huts could hold up to 70 patients. The smaller Quonset huts would contain soldiers with more serious wounds. The beds were cots. The nurse's station was located in the middle of the ward. Most of the time you were assigned more than one hut. On this particular day, when I started my 12-hour shift with report on the patients and made rounds, I quickly realized I was missing 2 patients. Patients that I were told were non-ambulatory. I lost 2 patients. No one would tell me how, and we checked all the usual places and they weren't to be found. I was horrified. Does this mean that I'm going to get in trouble for losing a patient? Dishonorable discharge? Should I get a senior officer and notify them? The surrounding patients, seeing the look on my face, must have provoked pity from them, and they confessed the two had left to go to the PX for hamburgers and French fries. The PX was the only place that served hamburgers and French fries. The hospital served its usual unappetizing meals off of traveling steam tables that went from hut to hut. That information that they went to the PX did not relieve my horror. It made it worse. The hospital compound was separated from the PX by a road, a busy, infamous road where vehicles stopped for no one. One of the missing patients had a leg wound that needed further surgery. The leg would turn cyanotic when dependent. He had to keep it at waist height. The other had a bullet wound across both buttocks. He could barely walk and could not sit. I waited anxiously while the orderly went to retrieve them. It took a long time for him to return, and in the wheelchair was the patient with the leg wound elevated. The other was shuffling slowly alongside. They didn't use any other equipment. One pedal was elevated and the other down, and they happily demonstrated the technique. The one with the butt wound pushed the chair, and if they came to an obstacle, they would switch. The one with the leg wound would hop around to push, and the other patient would stand on the down pedal and lean forward holding the back of the chair. Now this mission took them hours to accomplish. Now they promised me not to venture out again, but concluded the hamburgers and French fries were really good and was worth the risk and effort. Throughout my career being a nurse some 30 years, I've never lost any patients since. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.